Hello, 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 my Exhale Breathe family. How y'all doing on this hot Saturday afternoon? Yeah, before we get started, I would like to say like, share, subscribe, invite people in to watch. And here we go. Small recap from the week before. I apologize, I didn't get to go live last week, but I'm back today ready. But a recap from the week before, we talked about talking and dealing with your past and how people want you to get over it and move past it and move forward. And I was just saying that sometimes you do have to go back through the archives of your past in order to get to where you're trying to get to. So here we go. Um, I'm in this space right now, and I've been trying to understand it and figure it out, but I'm in the isolation phase. And it's very, very lonely here, right? But it's getting me to see and understand everything that I've been through, I've done, I've witnessed, and sitting in it by myself. And I was questioning God just the other day, like, what is going on? Like, why is it so lonely? And why, it seems like no one is around and no one is coming around and no one's talking and all the things. And that's where I am. That's where I have to be. And sometimes when you're on a healing journey, from what I'm learning, being on mine, is that it's necessary. It's necessary because you get to block out all the noise. You get to not focus on the things that you shouldn't even be focused on anyway, or worrying about things that don't even really matter. And so as I do that, I get to really tap into who I am and who God has called me to be, and to be able to relive the past to get to my future. And so um, I want to start with, you know, um, as we um, continue to grow and heal, we got to talk about some things. We got to dig deep and, yeah. So I'm going to go back to childhood for me. Yeah, I know that I've gave y'all some, father, different men taking advantage, um, not feeling protected, and all those things as a girl. And I really never felt that, honestly, not even as a grown woman. Never felt really protected. Um, yeah. And that's a sad, hard um realization to really fathom, right? because as a person, as a human being, you come into this world through someone else. You you're raised, and my people did what they knew to do. They did the best they knew to do. Um, I come from a big family on both sides, my mom and dad's side, and I've seen a lot. I've heard a lot. I've witnessed a lot. And but for me personally, being the oldest of five, um, I it was it was all kind of foolishness. I didn't. I yeah. But so as a girl, wanting to feel safe and wanted and included, I found myself being a part of organizations that I had no business. I had found myself just doing things that at my age 9, 10, 11, all the way through my teens, doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, but because of the structure, the structure wasn't there. The protection wasn't there. I did and went through a lot. And what I want the young ladies to understand is, if you're okay, let me go back first. Let's talk about this. When I say I've done a lot of things, witnessed a lot of things that I shouldn't have, and done things that I shouldn't have or shouldn't have to do as a girl, I was taking myself to doctor's appointments, dentist appointments as early as 12 years old, probably like 11, by myself. And I know that it's like, how? I don't know. But I know the doctor I had at the time, I don't know if it was because he knew me or what, but if I made my own appointments and everything. The same with my dentist. And honestly, I didn't get cavities until I became an adult, like 30, when they start finding cavities in my mouth. So sometimes, even when you're not being taken care of and protected the way that you know or feel like you should be, sometimes God will give you that little voice for you to do some things on your own to keep you okay. And so I've been pretty healthy all of my life. Um because I've always oh, excuse me. I always took pride and time into doing it. I like to know that I was okay. Um but at that time it wasn't nothing about my mental state though. You know, we didn't know nothing about depression and anxiety and PTSD, all the things that happens when life has thrown you so many curveballs, right? People just said you was acting out and you wanted to be grown and you wanted to be fast. And a lot of times that wasn't the case. You was in trauma. A lot of it. Some of us. I know I was. I was in a lot of trauma. Let me talk about me. I was in a lot of trauma. I had low self-esteem cuz I felt like, I was an ugly girl. Um, I was always bigger than the girls my age. I always had big hips, but I didn't think I was pretty. I didn't think I was loved. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel secure. And I acted out on those things. And it wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful. But I didn't know how to do nothing else. And yes, when I was in junior high and almost hurt a kid from me being molested and not having an outlet, and him being ugly mean to me, and inviting me to do things to him that we shouldn't even really know much about at that stage, um almost hurting this kid. I did go to counseling for that, but it wasn't much. And even that, I put myself in. Even that, I said, okay, what can I do? I need something. I need to talk to somebody, something. And I finally was able to, I did, but it didn't help a lot. It just opened up a pathway for me to know that I have to think about myself, especially in times when I'm being broken down, or I am being harmed or abused or misused, or, down on myself. I had to really learn how to ask for help, so that the goal was for me not to hurt nobody, whether it be physical, emotional, mental. Well, I didn't realize it was mental till years later, but I knew emotionally and physically I didn't want to be that type of person that abused other people, especially the people that I loved and cared for. Excuse me. And so in that, um, I tried, but of course it was short lived. And people like to say, you gotta love yourself first. How do you do that when you never been taught that? Like, honestly, me and my mom didn't have sit down conversations about life until I became an adult. And things, she started to watch me and listen to me and see how I was with my children, and she became curious to why I was the way I was. And even with her, she wanted to go backwards and find out, okay, this happened, this may I remember having where I was I've been, like I told y'all before, I've been and got this God been and gave me this to do, but I was doing it in person. And I would do it, stop, do it, stop. And this one particular time I did it at my house. I was about, I want to say I was about 26, 27, something like that. And I hosted a meeting. And after everybody left, my mom came to me and she was like, a lot of things are starting to make sense about you. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. And one of the things which was weird, she was like, now I see why you like older men. And I actually had to tell her, it wasn't so much that I liked the older men. Older men liked it me. And the reason why they liked me was because of that aura that was on me. It was a it was a what's the word I'm looking for? It was something on me that attracted older men. And I'm all I can say is that I was more mature than the girls my age around that time because I had already been going through things. Like I said, molestation to being forced to do things I shouldn't have been forced to do. And these all by men. So it was something on me that just attracted older men. And I guess at the end of the day, when it's all, I just went with it. That's who liked me, so I guess that's who I need to like back. Because the guys my age, the boys my age, wasn't coming. I can tell you, I've only had, I think Derek Sugarboo, rest in peace, um, was the youngest guy that I ever went with, that I ever called my boyfriend, honestly. Everyone else was either older up until 2010. I finally dated somebody my age. But as a younger a girl, teenager, early 20s, they all been older. And when I look back at it, it breaks my heart. It breaks my own heart because, of course, I wasn't on their levels. Of course, I wasn't. What do I know to do with a 35-year-old at 16? Nothing. They and and that's one of the things that I made sure of. I made sure that my daughters, I'm gonna address it. Can't no man more than 5 years talk to my daughters. I don't care who he is, what he got. Absolutely not. I'm shutting it down because I feel like, and and anybody can give me their opinion on it, but I just feel like once it become a 10-year difference, what do you really have in common? And yeah, sometimes, it's a small percentage works out, but for the most part, you're not aligned. And so for me, I just will not be okay with my daughters dating anybody more than 5 years older than them. Period. And because they take it fast. Older men, because that's what I can talk about, because that's what I've been dealing with, right? Can take you fast and in a hurry. And you don't even be ready for it. But you don't know. So you just go. And it breaks my heart that I don't, like I said in one of my videos, I don't even know how to play. Like regular kids play with dolls and makeup and tea sets and all that stuff. I didn't have that. I didn't do that. What that is. I was outside. Outside. And not outside and just playing with the kids outside. And that's like one of the biggest things that I feel I missed out on, that I didn't get to be a girl. I didn't get to be a kid. I didn't. And I had one of the first guy I dated after I got my first divorce. I remember one day, um, he was at my house and it snowed, and he wanted to go out with the kids and play, and I didn't want to. But before we went out, I don't know what made him look at me, but he just looked over my body and he was like, "Where are your scars at? You from the hood. Like, you so rough. Where's your scars at?" And I said, "I've never been that rough. I never been the girl that climbed trees, climbed walls. Now I fight, but that's as far as it's going." And that day, he went out with the kids. They was adamant about me playing, and they went and got a big old snowball and came and hit me with it so I can go out and play with them. And that was the most fun I've ever had. I even to this day, I still ain't had that much fun to from that day to this one. And that's a memory for my kids too. My kids remember that. They it comes up quite a bit because they want to see it and I want to give it. But how do you do that? So when people say love yourself, you got to love yourself first. Well, you got to learn how to do that when you ain't never been taught to do that. And everybody that claimed to love you abused you, misused you, and took you for granted. So no one showed you what it looked like, how it's supposed to be. And so now that I'm on this healing journey, I'm learning that I have to look to God for that more than people, more than man. I got to look for God to validate my love for myself and my self-esteem and who I am as a person, as a woman. God can only affirm that. And so that's what my healing is about. My healing is about digging deep, knowing why I'm not this way or that way. We got to understand that sometimes, and everybody don't have to go through this journey. Everybody don't have to do this type of work. And maybe, and a lot of it is because a lot of people haven't been through the trauma I've been through. And I'm often wondering, like, why? People don't like you to say you don't supposed to ask why. Why not? You want understanding. So how do you not ask why if you want understanding? So we got to be mindful. We got to keep, you know, all our journeys is different. All of our purposes is different. And even though some of our purposes may look alike, it's still different on a different level. And it's okay. The goal is to continue to push forward and give yourself some grace, as I tell y'all all the time, and be a little kind to yourself because it's okay. That's where I'm at. So as I wrap up for today, I just want y'all to know that I love you all and I thank you for walking with me and being on this journey with me. And I hope that I've said something that will give someone some hope. But be mindful of yourself and attach to God, because what you don't know, He will help you. What you feel about yourself, He will tell you exactly who you are and what you are. And one of the biggest things He tells us as His children is that we are wonderfully and fearfully made. We are so blessed and so loved and so unique. And we have our own gifts and purpose to live out. And as long as he give us breath in our bodies every day, it's a chance to work it out so that we can become who he intended us to become and the best person for ourselves that we can be in order to show up for the world. So, as I close again, please subscribe, like, share, comment, and I see you lovelies on next Saturday. Y'all be blessed. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend. Stay hydrated. Stay out of this sun because it is, ugh, I was in it and it drained me big time. Stay hydrated though and stay blessed. Bye for now.